This is Sparda's World Podcast, episode 58. Your host, Sparda 3G. And before we get this news started, I want to say about this whole Golden Week, double issue week, whatever the case may be, is actually going to happen next week, not this week. So we will get the chapters from Weekly Shonen Jump and other publications, and then next week there will be no new chapter at all. I mean, if we are going by the leaked schedule, we're not going by the real, the actual schedule. Otherwise, we would have to say it's actually 2 weeks, not next week. So therefore, we will get One Piece, Bleach, and so on this whole week. And even Fairy Tail, we get another one next week. I believe so. We're going to get another one. And then we have a break for that. And then, we will get it back then the week after that. And everything goes back to normal scheduling. It's just only for 1 week. A lot of people think that when it's double issue, that means we get double the chapter. I wish, but that's not really the case. Also, people think that means that we'll have 2 weeks break. It's only a week break because of the holiday in Japan, and that's usually the case. That's always has been the case in Japan. So I'm still trying to understand, trying to remember the schedule. It's just, I'm from USA. I don't know every culture, let alone Japan holiday schedule. But now I know that usually is the case of the last week of April. That's always like a holiday week or whatever the case is. That's all I remember for now. I probably have to look up for the other time of schedule, but yeah. So we are gonna get new chapter this whole week. We going to have a break next week. As for the podcast, there will be a podcast next week. However, the week after that one, there won't be no episode, as it will be on a break because there will be no chapters to review or anything to talk about. Well, I mean, there might be talk about little here and there, but I'll probably just address it at my Tumblr post. So again, there won't be no podcast episode the week after that one. Next week we will have an episode, but the following week, no, there won't be any episode. It will be on a break. And, if you want to follow any news or anything that's like, I don't know, different chapters, it could happen early in the week, who knows? And you could just follow me at Tumblr. I always put it up the links in down below the description box. So, yes, that's the case. Now we get to the news. As many have been heard, unfortunately, there is a bad news. And I don't want to make this into a, very sad, very depressing news. And it is a current event. It is a very sad situation. There was an earthquake. In fact, there were 2 earthquakes that happened in Japan. To be more specific, at Kumamoto area, the region of his place, it has 2 earthquakes last week. One happened on April 14th, and it was hitting at 6.2. And then later on, there were another one on April 16th, which has happened to be 7.3. These aftershocks, the shocks is really did the heavy damage. Unfortunately, we have lost at least 32 people, and I don't even know what's the count right now as this time, but God knows that it's not good. It's not only that we have thousands, I believe over 2,000 injuries, and just more than injuries, list of amount of people that are now in shelter without homes, and it's just terrible news. It's downright awful to hear this kind of event that happened. It reminded me of that time where they had a tsunami, and it was something that was just, it's heartbreaking because these people have to deal with this natural disasters, and when it comes to them, there are times in life there they could lose one way or another. Like outside world is scary, and outside world is anything could happen, but you gotta be brave enough and stuff like that, and you just gotta you just have the courage to go out and just have fun the best of your life. It's just sad when it comes to like any disaster, any tragic. events to happen to a person can happen in any way. It could happen because of a person, it could happen because of an accident, it could happen because of a nature. And in this case, nature has destroyed their homes, has they harmed their family, their loved ones, and the worst of all, has taken their lives, either so young, either whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. It takes their life away, and all because of this natural disaster that is earthquake. And people in Japan, I don't know if the outside there, I probably have felt it like in Tokyo or other regions in the Japan, but nevertheless they did in fact delay these episodes of any of many series that come in schedule around the time of the earthquake event, including Sakamoto desu ka. And yeah, it's rightfully so. Even Assassination Classroom, I believe it got delayed as well, but rightfully so, because this is something that is really cannot be ignored. Of course not, especially in Japan. But not only that, even outside countries are trying to do something about it, or having donation, having a tribute, everything that we could help them support. It's again, I in New York, here in New York City, I of course I got a horrible event on myself, but never that much of a nature disaster in my lifetime in New York City. But either way, tragic is tragic, and I just feel awful. And I could just, I want to pay my respect to all their families, their loved one, and it doesn't matter about these episodes, these manga. I don't care about those. It's the people that's much more important, way more priority than anything else in there. So I do wish the best of luck for them, speedy recovery and everything about their place. So, what's interesting, I wanted to bring, the reason why I brought this up, even though this is an anime and manga based, it is a serious case of disaster, and there's always a lot of things going on in the outside world, but I don't want to bring too much down mood to this situation. Was really nice, in my opinion, they have a bear mascot. I don't know what's the name of it, unfortunately. I didn't really research about this name, but what I really like is that there are mangaka that actually draw these images that has related with this bear mascot about the support of the earthquake, the people that have suffered from the earthquake, and these mangaka pay their tribute, and there's so many, and it's really it's very nice of them to show how much support they wanted to have. And I know people will be saying like why like drawing won't do too much of it, but sometimes there are people that feels very passionate when they see something, a drawing from their fan favorite, from anybody. It just shows you these people care. These mangaka, these hard worker people care about these people that's suffering from this natural disaster. And there's so many of them. I lost track. I didn't even know there are so many of them that have these Twitter's account. And it's great. It's great to know how much, not only that, how many people are like out there and so you could actually communicate with them, but also how many people are really passionate to support these folks at Kumamoto. And we got people like Hiro Mashima draw these images with the bear mascots to show the support. Ishida Sui, the guy behind Tokyo Ghoul, even draw one. It's really it's really touching, because it actually shows how kind-hearted these people really are. They don't need to do these images. I mean, I'm pretty sure they do more than just having images, but they show their support. They show like something that the fans in that region, they probably knows about them the most, and it should show them how much they care about this situation, how much they want to support these people. I'm really fascinated, and I give a lot of more credit and a lot of more respect for these people that at the hardworking at the any manga publications. It's just great. I really support this, and I really hope these guys get their back on their feet very soon. And if anything, of course I will support these guys, and just hope for the best. As everybody's gonna get their recovery. Everybody's going through some hardship, but sooner or later everything will be back to I can't say back to normal with a straight face, but everything can be happy once again, and I believe that will come as soon as we all pay our support to these folks that really lost their homes, their family, their loved one, and we could just only pray for them for their speedy recovery. All right, so I don't want to segue to a different mood set, but I have to in order to keep this podcast a bit up mood. But just remember, the earthquake disaster is over at this time being. All we have to do, we pray, is for these guys to recover. So let's not bring down the mood, and let's just get back to it. But just keep in mind they are okay now for a lot of people, and they will be back up their feet. And if they are back on their feet, they will bring their smile once again. So we go to this news that Hunter x Hunter Volume 33, the long-awaited volume. And I guess a lot of people waited this volume for 2 years. If I recall, it has been 2 years. I'm looking at this volume 32, and wondering, this is supposed to be volume 33, right? Where is it? Volume 33. Well, it's actually going to ship out in Japan, at least. In Japan first. Yeah, I'm not sure about USA, but it may take a long time. Who knows? But in Japan, they're going to get their official volume 33 on June 3rd, 2016. So yes, after so long, we finally get a volume. And if you have been collecting them, again, it's only for Japan, but if you're a person that collects the Japanese volume books, the Tokaban, I think that's how you say it, well, rejoice. On June 3rd, you could get it, you could order it, I believe, whatever the website, you could get it from import stuff. And, for me, I could actually go to that Kinokuniya bookstore that actually sells tons of manga volumes from English, the USA region, and the Japanese region. So hey, I could get myself one if I like to get one. But hey, who knows when the USA version will come out? Hopefully it will be soon. But nevertheless, we officially get a volume, and we still hoping that Togashi does not take a break for a long time, because he has been hiatus for way too long. So please don't go away yet. All right, another couple of news. This is something I don't even know that wasn't right. But apparently this Pokemon phase, this Pokemon phase, the whole talk about Pokemon has been very big as of this year. You got the whole Pokken tournament game coming out. Well, it's already out now for the Wii U. They have a new Pokemon game, Moon and Sun. And, there's a lot of craze to talk of Pokemon. I believe it's even the anniversary, if I recall correctly. There's tons of Pokemon thing. Up to the point that there's actually a Pokemon live action rights that's going on right now. There's an auction that's happening as we speak. Unless they already passed on. I'm recording this on Tuesday, April 19th. So anything could happen right now. Maybe after I finish recording, you find out this studio has bought the rights. The one that's actually auctioned is going between Legendary Entertainment, Warner Brothers Studio, and Sony. Now, Legendary Entertainment has been to try to get the adaptation for these series for many times. We recently just got the Godzilla, the USA version, 2 years ago. Was it last year? I think it was last year. Yeah, I kind of lost track that one. But yeah, we just had that Godzilla from USA. From this not Japan made Godzilla film. They seem like they really want to try to get a lot more of adaptation that came from Japan or anywhere else. Warner Brothers Studios, they're the one that produced they're the one that was behind the Pokemon movies, the animated movies back in our time, my time at least, in around 1998, and so they're behind those rights. Sounds fitting if they were to get the rights. I don't know what they did good with it. I hope they could do good with it. I mean, this live action idea for Pokemon movie, a live action, is something that should not be hard to even adapt. I mean, you could really make a really cool movie. You could actually make a really fun summer film. I don't know what's the take on Pokemon, but hey, it can be really good. It doesn't have to be very based on the anime. It could be, I wouldn't say go rated R, but it could be pretty, like, you know, like something that a family film, a great family film. It could really do that if they know it, how to put their minds into set. But also Sony wants to get it, you know, guys behind Spider-Man, the amazing Spider-Man, even though now Spider-Man's in the MCU world, but that's a different story. Anyway, these are the three guys that really wants to get the rights for the Pokemon live action. Again, I wasn't even aware there was going to be a Pokemon live action. I mean, it's only about the rights, but it seems like if they're fighting it, that means they want to make one, right? So if I'm not sure who I would choose to make it, what I know is if there's going to be a Pokemon live action movie, make it good. You don't need to do it based on the anime. In terms of like the exact same, like 10-year-old Ash through this Team Rocket blasting off away, blah, blah, blah. It don't need to be like that. It could just be a fun movie. Again, it's all about their mindset had to be in the right place. Lastly, Viz Media's license. They have licensed more light novel work. And, you know, I don't know what happened to the other Hiden book for Naruto. I know they're about to release the Sakura novel one next month. But I don't know what's the case maybe for the other one with Gaara, the Tire Konoha, and the Koski. I have no idea what's the case for those one, but as this time, I have not heard any announcement about them. I don't even remember the first three. Maybe they didn't license them. Maybe they didn't sell well. Maybe they think they don't care. No, people don't care. Kind of like how they didn't license Gyro one. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that they have officially licensed more novels. They officially licensed the light novel of the Gangsta. I didn't even know they had one, but apparently they do. They licensed Naruto, the Itachi story. That's what's going on in anime right now with Shippuden. It's going on right now with the animated form. Granted, it's different. So if you want to know the real version, the full version, the complete storytelling version, you gotta get these novels, these Naruto Itachi. Now there are two of them. Then both of them, respectively, coming out on September 4 and October 2nd. Of this year, of 2016. So they're both coming out at that time. Again, I don't know any information about the Nether Hidden books. I know Sakura is next month, but I don't know what's the case for Gaara, Konoha one, and the Koski one. Let alone Gyro one, but I guess they don't care about that one. But to me, this is the part I care. And yes, it's just me, but I bet you guys would may or may not care. It's the Tokyo Ghoul. They officially licensed the Tokyo Ghoul light novel, which one is called Days. That's released on October of this year. Then there's another one called Void, which will be releasing on January 2017. So they should give you a lot of time to finish reading up Days. And Pass, which is to be announced. It's a forthcoming, but that's the new one too. So then we have 3 Tokyo Ghoul novel, and that started on October, and then it goes to January, and then whatever the other one comes out. Maybe they probably just hold it off until they get the sales ready. I don't know how the sales is for light novels when it's based on the series of the manga. I know the light novel for like other series like No Game No Life, or did I say that backwards? I hope not. Like those kind of light novels, I think they do better. I think they actually do decent. But when it comes to like, you know, like the Naruto's, well, who knows what a Tokyo Ghoul would be like. You know, like Naruto, I never see it charted on the top 10 weekly in the New York Times for the book manga case. Yeah, it says manga, but they do put light novel as well, to my knowledge at least. I mean, unless they were talking about the other version with No Game No Life, but I don't recall a manga version. Probably is, but I don't recall them releasing in USA. Nevertheless, I don't know how the sale are for those novels. So, you know, anything, maybe Naruto one is not that popular, or in terms of light novel, I mean. in here, there was a question that somebody asked the Anime News Network about the light novel not being that popular, or is popular. Who knows? I never got to read the answers, so I can't answer you there too. But yeah, it should be neat. Probably wanted to check out the Tokyo Ghoul just because it'll be probably one of the few first light novel. I'm not much of a light novel guy. I mean, I would like to read them, but I have not really gone that deep to find which one is good or which one is really considered to be at its core best, or something that is good for starters. I know what light novel are. I just didn't get engaged to them. I like novels though, but just like novels, and I'm not saying I'm not a fan, but I just never got into it because I just need something to start off with. I know there are a lot of anime series that's based on the light novels, and I understand that, but I don't know how that transfer or how that changed it up a bit. But I'll give it a try one day. There's just one day. Where you going? 光全部集めて君の明日照らすよ Well, at least it's not the last chapter before the break, you know? Hey, at least the next week one could be a better one. This chapter... Okay, I'm not mad at this chapter. I know, I see a lot of people so mad about this chapter, though. This fairy tale 482, it's just... I could understand why they're mad. And it is pretty usual in a way, but it feels like... It almost feels kind of forced unless there is a reason for it, which I'm going to get to. But this chapter itself, I thought it was fine. It was a fine to decent chapter. It's pretty much all action, and you get pretty much a good amount of fan service shot. Not much of a fan of that. The ending, it pretty much gives you the idea, well, this guy is done, and also leaves perhaps an interesting outlook what could be next for Erza, or in terms of her connection, her backstory, perhaps a backstory. That said, there are parts that's pretty troubling for a lot of people. Some people don't really think too deep enough in this thing, and it just gets to the conclusion Erza's being Erza, blah blah blah. What is this new stuff like that? Erza wins, so well, whatever, however these guys are taking it. I can understand why they are frustrated, but let's get to the chapter itself. There, we actually started with many people fighting of the dead ones, the one that are brought back by Historia, such as such as Grace and Leon Master. They actually fighting her. They're actually fighting against her, and Gray have his moment of speech, and they're well, I wouldn't say they're losing, but they're not taking her down pretty easy. They're not doing it as easy as they thought they can, but they're not gonna give up. At least Gray is not giving up, and Leon is obviously more of a motivated by that speech, and everybody else, you see a lot of, you see everyone else having their own battle, like Zanko going against the former teammate. You see, Hades is going against Laxus, and Wendy is down, pretty damaged. It seems like after that fight from before, it seems like she really took the most out of it. Same thing for Laxus. Seems like he's barely keeping it up, but he has no choice because, it's Hades. I don't know if the ideas everybody's going to get their talk in order to end their win, to get their win, but I think the idea that's going to be is that everybody's going to fight, and what's his name? Nihilheart is going to be the one to be defeated, with all the Historia being not executed. What's that word? Deactivated, whatever. That's for lack of a better word, deactivated would be. I think that's how that's going to go down. That's my prediction. I mean, if maybe everybody do win their fights, which I kind of find which I will accept Gray one. I will accept. No, I can't accept Laxus. That's a little bit too much in my opinion. But everyone else, not Gray and Leon, I can accept that. They're weak. If they beat them, what the hell? It would be just too much. It would be too BS, of course. But again, the show chapter is all action, and the action actually came more from Erza, because Erza is the one that's really getting demolished by these three people that she has fought before. They all going against her, they all taking her down. Then at one point, that's all the slaughterhouse comes in. Yeah, and when I mean slaughter, she really gets slaughtered in many ways. She gets taken down by every page you turn. She just get beat down, getting grounded. Her clothes starts to strip, which I guess that's where we provided a fan service. Don't really need this, but hey, what do you expect from Mashima? It's a fan service from the crouch shot, from the back shot where her pants are starting to get stripped down. Yeah, it's what it is. Kyoka actually go back to her old routine, that doing the torment that she likes to do. The whole, at the very least, she didn't strip her down to no clothes like before. So at least we're safe from the obvious fan service. I mean, yes, torture, no clothes, no protection, whatever. But let's face it, that's actually a second thought in the back of the mind of Mashima. It's more of a, hey, if I strip it down, I could have so much pleasure and fan service joy. And that's not what happened. But you get the idea that he kind of did it by having a moment where Kyoka is doing like, raise the power hit in one specific region, and then once it hits, you see the naked Erza just taking the damage and screaming out loud in pain, and major pain. And Kyoka actually managed to grope Erza one of their breasts, just to get the idea. Maybe this will hurt a lot more if I aim here. Who knows? I can't really say. But anyway, that is pretty much like a revisit from the old arc. Only this time Erza actually has something to say about that. And what she said about those torments, those torture, those beatdowns are nothing compared to her moment that she actually won the battle against them. Now, Hysteria is supposed to based on the user, so it comes from whatever their mind or emotions, I guess. I don't know. It's based on what they are, who they communicate before, and of course these threes are from Erza past enemies, past battles that we experienced from the series, which pretty much gives you the idea this series is coming to an end very soon. But anyway, I digress. Now then, with the Erza be all determined that nobody can really take her down because she took them down before, this is nothing compared to that. Nobody's going to be updated. Nobody has updated themselves because she is the one that she has won the battle the first time around, and she's the one that has been upgrading herself and hasn't been proving a lot. And she gave them the stare, which a lot of people think the stare equal everybody just blew up and disappeared. Yes, that's what happened. Once she gave the stare, everybody grown into incredible fear of seeing Erza, and then they just disappear. Now, here's the thing. If Hysteria is truly based on a person's mind, that means, the idea of these Hysteria having the emotion of fear, they actually depleted that ability because they are, since it's based on the user. I guess you could say the user beat the emotion. Instead of like give in the fear, he let the fear being taken away from it. Something like that. You could think of that way. That's the only explanation I could think of, and it's the only way I could accept this, because truth be told, I was not a fan of this, because I feel like these revival of the dead always be beaten by emotions. It's shonen, at least. Naruto was the same. I don't want to compare, but Naruto, to be fair, Naruto was a little bit more hokey because you got the Edo Tensei, whatever. You got them coming back from the dead. Based on what? DNA just come them back. Whatever. It's all cool. They have their own motion. They have everything. It's literally them brought back to life on paper or whatever you want to say. But then you find out, I have been completed. I have been erased because you told me that everything is fine. So I disappear. That part, where'd that come from? I don't even know. It just sounds so random, especially when we saw it the first time around. Why now? Why start now, you know? It didn't make sense. Or if it does, it still come off pretty cheesy. And now we go to Fairy Tail. Look, if it's truly based on the person, it's more acceptable. Granted, it is still a bit weak, but it's more acceptable if that is the case. Now, the problem is, another problem arises, is with Nihilheart. Nihilheart, he's like incredibly shocked just to see Erza. Once again, Erza being Erza, defeating the old odds. Now, I don't think Historia disappeared altogether for everybody, but it disappeared for Erza. That being said, when the fact that he has grown incredibly fear, and then he makes he come out of nowhere and brought up Lady Elaine. I don't know how you say it, but it brought up her. Now there's a connection. There has to be a connection. It could be the mother and daughter situation. It can be, and I don't even know if she's still around. But it does bring the possibility of a backstory. That being said, it kind of confuses me because why does he have to draw that comparison? Is it the comparison because is it saying that only that bloodline could disable Nihilheart Historia, or is it that Erza does in fact, or is the fact that Erza find the solution to defeat Historia that everybody has not yet known to how to defeat them, you know, as at this time? Is it, which one is it? Is it exclusive to Erza because of her bloodline that connects to a Lady Elaine, or is just really, what is it? Because if it's the latter, of Erza just figured out how to defeat Historia, why that kind of random connection? That seems rather forced, if you ask me, because it just only acts like, oh yeah, you know, there is somebody that seems like that. It is because it's the first time he sees the defeat and he just draw a connection. So what if Kagura's the one that's being the whole thing? That means he would draw that connection? What is it? It sounds forced. It sounds, I don't know. To me, it felt forced. Unless it's really the case of the first one, which is going to be funny because that only explains, you know, maybe her family bloodline is nothing but Aspool family bloodline. Seriously, how many times she gets away with everything? So hey, we look on the bright side. At least there's a possibility of a backstory for her. There's a possibility that we're gonna see a backstory to her family, if anything. So maybe that's something to be interested. Even if it did happen in a forceful way, I just didn't think I just think it felt a little bit confusing, and it just feels rather forced if this thing is really exclusive to Erza. In other words, Erza is the only one that could beat this Historia with fear, rather than everybody else has to beat them, I guess. But it just, I don't know. I didn't like how that came about. It just seems like, oh yeah, because Erza is ass pulling. I guess you figured out when you're ass pulled, that means you got to be in this bloodline. I don't know. I can't say it's that much of an ass pull. I don't want to say it's ass pull, the whole situation that we just saw. But I feel like it was just rather underwhelming because I'm tired of the dead being defeated by emotion. If they're dead, and you know that thing is, you know, yeah, it's scary, but you have the upper hand. Just kill her. Just try to kill her, and then you can have Jiao, who shows up in a very, very pissed off mood. You can have him show up and beat all three of them, and then Jiao just look pissed, so pissed that Nihilheart gets scared out of his mind. You know, that would make sense. That would be better. But instead, we're just trying to find a forceful way to try to have that connection between Erza and Lady Elaine, who may or may not be part of Sprinkle 12, because I don't think we've seen all the members, right? So, who knows? But the next chapter should be better. Next chapter should be pretty cool, because Jiao is pissed off, and that only means, like, this thing is going to get easily done. Fortunately, it does seem like Springer 12 is once again about to take it down. I wouldn't say too easy, but it doesn't leave a lot of like, holy crap, this guy did too much damage. Right now, the one that's doing that too much damage is that guy who made a crucifixion out of the Sabertooth and the Pegasus. That's the only guy so far. But, these guys, these on-screen characters, they're not doing that much damage. And they need to start doing it. That's why it bothers me to see Neidhart being so scared. In fact, it should not be that way. It should have been like him just being concerned and then just like, thinking, what is this? I feel like there's some connection. But instead, he's scared out of his mind like he just saw a monster. He saw the devil or something. It's just, don't do that yet. Not yet. But whatever. JR is going to one-shot him, two-shot him, who knows. But at least it will be some entertainment. So, other than that, fine chapter. I know people got mad with this one, but maybe I'm numb to it. Who knows? Boy, talk about the family feud has been getting much bigger and bigger. With Gintama latest chapter, oh man, we're going to have the long-awaited fight that has been hinted since the time with the first interaction between Kamui and Gintoki. And now we're finally getting that battle. Will this be the end all for the family feud? Or this will be something that Kamui can finally say, I am the strongest? How this chapter goes. I say this chapter is more of a build to the fight that's going to take place with Kamui and Gintoki. And perhaps even more, but who knows at this time. Regardless, I thought this was a pretty good chapter for a build and a pretty good chapter for a standalone with this a heartwarming reunion with Kagura and Yorisuya. The freelance guys, the Shinpachi and Gintoki, and even Sadahara. So everybody's are finally reunited in one place. They have a good talk that pretty much established that Kamui there's no other choice but to fight him, and off we go. So I really like this chapter though. This was a pretty amusing and fun one, especially the part where the claiming the title, which we're gonna get to right now. So in the beginning, we see Gintoki make his grand entrance, and Kagura is just awestruck to see these three actually, if we're gonna count Sadahara. Yes, so she's awestruck by seeing them, and it's really touching to see her reaction, to see these guys are back for him. I mean, yes, she felt like she knows that they was gonna go after her, but to see them at this time, at the right time of need, it's always a touching moment. It's always a great feeling, above all. So where do we begin? Well, we have Gintoki and Kamui. Actually, we have Kamui talking to Shinpachi, or more like the other way around. Excuse me. We have talking about the family, and actually Gintoki actually say something about the whole family, about him, why he's there, why he shows up, why he coming at this time, because that's what family do, and they just have no other reason but just feel like Kagura needs of help, and that's how they come. It's just instinct, as you could say. And I really like the panel where it has a lot of memories from the past chapters. All the memories. It's very convincing how much these guys really gel together. Really are a family of one. It's something is behold. And, one of the users from Tumblr actually pointed out about like why this part is so touching. It's because it actually reflects where Kagura actually once said that she always wants to be with Gin-chan, as I would like to say. Gin-chan and the family, the new family that she has formed, she has bonded with, and, it's now we finally get the side of Gintoki, something that she never really heard for herself, actually she never really heard it, but now it's coming from straight out of his mouth, and it just seems like it feels like a long-awaited due. And it feels like, of course, it just feels like it's all planned out. It all feels like it's very convincing, very touching. And even Shinpachi put his 2 cents, and even tell Kamui that enough is enough. You don't need to fight anymore because Kagura has found a family. And that's what bothers Kamui. Kamui understands these. He's not like I don't believe you or anything like that. He understands everything, but it feels like everything is just keep on going back in circle, as in somebody gets in his way, which is ironic because it's something that he has broken away the first time. Now it's still like it's still going on again. And it just like, it seems like he's stuck in that cycle or something. It just, he can never get his break. And, of course, Gintoki and Shinpachi is part of new family Kagura. And now it's like, you're now in my way. It's like, well, how is that? You keep on growing. It's like, well, Gintoki's like, since I'm considering myself as part of the family, I guess I'll have no choice but headbutt in that family situation. And Kamui doesn't want to accept that because, of course, they're in his way. It's something that he has planned this long time ago, and now he has to revisit that plan again. So, nevertheless, his first thing he's wanted to do is to be the number one, the strongest of all time. And what Gintoki does is something amazing, and something that leads to a funny moment, is where he goes to Umobozo, go pick his head up, and headbutt him, and gets down, and Gintoki claims it to be the strongest because he has defeated Umobozo with a headbutt. Even though Gintoki actually takes the most damage, he's trying to say with a pride, but he was tears. He had a big lump on his head, and the way how it's done is done in the most lowest way you could ask for a person. So if you always hear that joke about how Gintoki is supposed to be our protagonist, if he's like the worst, it's not the worst as in like a criticism bad, but it's actually bad because of what he has done or what he has been doing this whole time. So in this case, Shinpachi called him out with this whole scenario, the idea that he headbutted him just because he wants to claim the title of the strongest. And Shinpachi's like, not only you got hurt badly, not only it didn't look like you became the strongest because you're the one that in tears, but you actually attacked the weakest person. You attack a person that is down. Therefore, not only you are weak, but you are the worst. It's awesome. And it's hilarious because Gintoki tried to make it into a point, but he couldn't because it turns out Umobozo is just that damn strong. And the fact that Umobozo even said, what did it be? Was it a fly? It's just awesome. That's classic Gintama stuff right there. But it does lead to a very important moment, and that is that Gintoki did this because he wants to be the strongest now. He has the title of the strongest. And to mind game Kamui, because Kamui, which by the way has said that he really has no purpose other than just to be the strongest. And that is his purpose, his gain. And that's where he could only lead to. It almost sounds like if he has nothing like that, if he can't get that, he would just commit suicide. He would just die on his own, on his way. It really describes his character in a nutshell. It really pointed out how much an empty shell he has truly become. And I called this. I'm not the only one that called this. I'm pretty sure a lot of people called this, but they finally called it out like that. From his mouth and from Gintoki's mouth. It's just how he is now. It's rather sad to see it, and I can only hope he get the right idea soon after fighting against Gintoki, or maybe it just lose or something. So at one point he has to find a way. He has to find the real answer to this whole thing. It's not like he's not right, but he's not wrong either. It's just he just needs to understand perfectly of where the world is truly taking him in. So now Gintoki is doing the mind game with him, telling him like, I'm the strongest. And if I'm the strongest, you should be fighting me, and you should be taking me on, and you should defeat me. You should kick my ass in order for you to be the strongest. And when Kamui stepped in, punched him, Gintoki took a heavy punch. You could tell he's really taking that heavy blow. And that blow was pretty devastating. You could really tell from the damage mark, the blood that's coming from his face. Yet he managed to pull the menacing face and tell him, is that really all you got? And he stabbed Kamui, or, poke him very hard with that sword of his. And he just spilled so much blood. So pretty much Gintoki is provoking him as well to get him fight him. I don't know if Gintoki knows he's gonna win or not gonna win. I don't know what's his game here. I mean, it is the only way. You gotta fight Kamui to get his idea. But what if Gintoki loses? What if he actually do lose and he actually have Kamui being the strongest, claiming the strongest? What then? What if Gintoki does beat Kamui? What that leads to? Gintoki becoming Kuro Sensei of Gintama? I don't know. And if you don't know, it's Kuro Sensei, that's from Assassination Classroom, the teacher that's supposed to be killed off and is made to be targeted as one. So I don't know where this is gonna lead to. I'm hoping for the best that it leads to something good. Anything is possible. This is the second last chapter before the break, and I'm bringing this up because this one seems to have more effect to that nature. Since when it comes to chapter before the break, chapter in the double issue time, it always feels like something major happens. It's not just this series; there's a lot of series. I'm even going to get to that in the next review for another series after this one. But going back to this one. It's known fact that many times before that there's always a break and they always leave with a big cliffhanger or a major twist that happens at the end. In this case, like if this was the last chapter, this would not be too much of a big deal, but it'd be a little bit of a hype. But since that it happened right before the break, that means something major is going to happen in the next chapter. I don't know what could be, but it could either be the fight is over and Gintoki wins, or Kamui wins. I don't know. I think Gintoki would prevail. Who knows? Or something major happens, something that would just block it in a way, and something that would just change the course of the story. Anything can happen, and Gintama has been known to do that, which is a great thing because they have been doing it for the greater good, more so for why. You know, they never give you that why you do this, but it's more of a that's better. You know, that's something I always admire this series. So I'm going to give that a chance. But definitely looking forward to that fight that's going to happen right now. And, well, in the next chapter to be more exact. But pretty good build-up. Again, that head bar scene, hilarious stuff. It's just funny because it's supposed to come out in a cool way. It's supposed to come out in a more badass way. But instead it came out very weak in terms of how he has tried to deliver. It's just hilarious. But yeah, definitely is now have that some sense of mind game coming from Gintoki on Kamui. Even call him a idiot brother, which pretty much got from Kagura, and rightfully so, because this guy has no sense of thought right now. But definitely looking forward to the next chapter, because anything can happen. With the next chapter being the chapter before the break, I just feel like there's something major going to happen. I can't be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, because I feel like this one is going to need that huge turn of event. Well, we get to this chapter, and man, part of me don't want to talk about this chapter because it's not a bad chapter, but there is this one moment that actually very disturbing. Yes, I know it's this genre, but it doesn't still help the fact that this moment even happened in the first place. It can be avoided, but the story did hint at a lot of with this flashback, and it's disturbing. It's probably the most disturbing one that we've seen thus far, let alone the character that's going through. And that even includes Kaneki himself. So think about that. Nevertheless, this chapter was great. Great chapter. Felt more of a build, but I think it's rightfully so because I know I've been harping on this too much, but it is the chapter before the last one, before the break. So I feel like it was made to do growing the momentum. But even so, it has a lot of characterization with Kaneki appreciation in some form of way, and channeling Sasaki about Arima, you know, his idol, his figure, a father figure, And with Mizuki, yeah, we actually go back to Mizuki, the flashback and everything that happens to her in the past and the current event. It's disturbing and sad at the same time, but it reminds me of a lot with Kaneki as well. We got a lot of things. Well, it's not that much to talk about, but mainly it comes from Mizuki. But it is a lot of more psychological events, more so than a lot of action. There's a good amount of action here too, but there's a lot of more of a mind talk coming from Kaneki with Arima. It starts off as a Sasaki and Arima interaction from the flashback that Sasaki actually did start off start off as a guy who doesn't want to kill ghouls or, has sympathy with the ghouls. But Arima actually taught him you should not have that sympathy because they're ghouls. And that's not how you are. Do not communicate with them. So, interesting that Sasaki started off as a sympathizer with not just human, but with ghouls as well. Now, of course, once again, he's back as a person that would just kill anyone that is threatening, which is understandable. But again, he wasn't like that. He was like a guy who would just knock you down, Batman style. Not the Batman from Batman vs. Superman, but I digress. Point being, that was the case. And then that's where that's where we resume to the present time. I will say this. I thought we was going to get Kaguya Kaneki in this chapter, but we didn't. We actually did not. I guess the last page of the last chapter was more of a symbolic style, which I thought it was still cool, but I thought we were going to have Kaguya, and it seems like we will by the next chapter, especially the way how it's handled in the very end of the chapter. Makes sense to me. I just thought it was going to happen this one. But it also makes sense with the way how Kaneki, or should I say Sasaki, the way how he's talked about Arima. And this is where he actually starts to appreciate about Arima. And he actually talks about he was actually set to meet the expectation of Arima. And he doesn't know if he does. And he really didn't want to fight him. Kaneki does. It really felt like Kaneki is truly channeling Sasaki. Now, of course, they are technically the same person. But the way how it's being said, it's like channeling, It's like he's really saying what his emotion, what he's feeling, what he really thought about Arima. And it's something like he always wonder, what does he think about him as Sasaki, as Kaneki? What does he think about him? But the fact that he never talks, the fact he is this cold, the fact that he has emotionless face tells Kaneki nothing. It tells him nothing. He doesn't know what does he really think of, and maybe his actions pretty much telling him no. He has no emotion for you. He doesn't care about you, and since you're an enemy, you're going to get killed by your own enemy now. And that's how Kaneki, the same person. That's how he sees it, and it's again, it feels like it was channeling with that character. Since we know Sasaki really look up to Arima as a figure, as a father figure, and it really shows, especially that side chapter, so-called side chapter where he gave him a present, and I'm still trying to wonder what's their relationship, because it is a very, very mix of a relationship between these two. And I feel like by the end of the chapter, the only best way for these two communicate very well and understand each other very well is when they fight each other. And that's where we get caught off from here. But again, from this first part of the battle, Kaneki could not lay a single hand on Arima, even when he knows everything about him. Even though he was training him, everything, he couldn't get him. He didn't want to fight him, though, but it all comes clear by the end of the chapter. We actually go back to Root Island. The whole raid they're going, it has been going on for a while, and they finally get a notification that Coachella is being under attack, is being invaded by ghouls, is being under attack. I don't know if they have, I'm pretty sure they probably find out that Sasaki has betrayed them, but they don't want to say anything yet, because right now they're in the raid. Of course, bringing the bad news will actually lose their momentum. They'll actually they probably, they will probably lose their cool. They will lose everything, and then they will have Ogiri ghouls having the most advantage of them. So yeah, I guess that's understandable. It's a little risky because I could imagine them coming back, and then they get the news, and everybody will be like, "What the hell?" It's understandable, but it's a hard decision. It's not, nobody's right in that one, but that is the approach they're going for. Now, I will be honest. I don't know why we're going to the Root Island, especially by the last 3 pages or so. It actually goes back to the Arima versus Kaneki. I don't know what's the case, but I feel like there is a good reason, and I feel like it's going to parallel a lot of things in one segue moment. But because in this chapter we do go back to Root Island for the more the more development that's going on with Masuki and the Q Squad trying to find her. Him. I will say him until further notice. Him. And it seems like they're getting close. I mean, the way they sense the smell, they smell blood, I believe, and hopefully they're getting close to them, because now we see Masuki with a torso guy, Psyche. This guy is just he's obviously obsessed, but we don't know how he handles his people. Now we do, and it's just disturbing as hell. He makes not only he got rid of his arms and legs, but he's trying to make it like a holy, like an angel, a Jesus, in a symbolic way, in a very disturbing way. And what makes it sad, even more sad to see, is that Masuki, his hair is actually lighting up. I believe it's going white. So yeah, what's the idea. This is definitely a Kaneki moment again, and it's brutal. And it not only that, but it's like you even get the sense from his monologue, from the flashback. It feels like this is actually that Kaneki moment, and I feel like if he manages to get away, if he actually gets free, gets saved, anything, his life is not going to be the same anymore. We saw how he lives in the early chapter, it's, being rookie, being, being supportive to the family, the Q Squad, everything about him. But after this moment, I think that those days are over. Take us Kaneki. Kaneki was always a nice guy. We all know that. But then when that moment happened, he become ruthless, and he just, he starts to lose the way how he was used to handle back then, especially how to approach his friend. Like, he's nice to his friends, but he doesn't let friends or anyone else to help him or stuff like that. I feel like that's going to happen with Masuki if he does get away from this whole thing. But again, this torso guy is just somebody you want to kill off already. Fucking hate him. I hate this son of a bitch. This guy really is like this guy is a real guy that you really, really, really can't wait to see get killed off, and it has to be the most brutal way as possible it can be. I hope when Uri sees him, the torso guy, he will demolish him, he will kill him. I don't know if Masuki does regenerate. He could regenerate, right? I don't even know about that, but it still sucks to see the situation he's placed in. And then that's where Saki, this torso guy is just so obsessed. It's like beating him up, abusing him just because he didn't smile, even though, I mean, come on, man, what the fuck? So then unfortunately it leads to the flashback, which it finally it starts to make a lot of sense why Masuki became the way he is, why that hint of flashback of his character is the way it went through, and it's disturbing as hell. His father is the one has been abused Masuki since he was around. He, at the time he was a she, she was formerly a female, as she was proclaimed back then, but she was being abused by her father. I think that was the mother that was just watching. She was pretty much helpless, and Masuki just takes everything in, it gets drowned in the bathtub until she tried to say, "You're the best father." Everything about her, the father was ultimate prick. And if you recall one of the scenes from the flashback, not this flashback, from one of the early flashbacks, I believe it was in the auction raid arc, where the nurses were saying, like, I heard that this guy killed his parents and stuff like that, and it seems like that is maybe the truth, because look at that father, he's a fucking asshole. So seeing that, and not only is just physically abused, but it's also not mentally abused, but it's also rape. Is a rape. This is saddening, guys. You gotta remember that first and foremost. So yeah, even if Mizuki tells him he's the best father, and he's like, best father, and he's like, you know what, that means you respect me, and with that, I will use your respect as much as I can. And of course, that the way they zoom in into her breast area, it already tells you everything, that this guy is even physically abused her in a rape wise. It's just awful. And of course, we don't see that visually. Why would you? But nevertheless, Ishida used the idea of the seinen could go all the way to do a lot of disturbing moments, but it has to be told, because it has been foreshadowed where Mizuki come from. It also gives you the idea why Mizuki wants to be a guy and wants to be claimed as a male, because as a female, as a woman, as a girl, she was awfully abused to the point that she doesn't want to be a girl. And the way her monologue is nothing but despair. The way how she said, in the end, it's always going to be the guys. It's always the men that will just abuse her, and that's how it's always going to be. It's happening again right now with Torso Guy. Torso Guy is pretty much, I don't want to think that really happened, but it feels like the Torso Guy may have, or going to have rape Mizuki, and it's disturbing as fuck. It's disturbing as hell. And again, the monologue pretty much gave you the sense of same parallel to Kaneki back in the first series, where his mind, he's recapping his life with his mother, the aunts, everything, and he just figured out, what, his life always sucked. He hates life now and stuff like shit like that. With like yelling out about his mother, why he didn't take care of him, fuck her, everything like that. That's what Mizuki's going through. Now he's like, you know what? My life fucking sucks, because I'm always going to be abused by men. It's just the way I am. It's just the way I was always going to be. So again, that already gives you the idea. To me, it gives me the idea. If he escapes alive, he's not going to be the same again. He's going to be really, really different person altogether. I mean, you could go back. I could hope he or she could go back, but at this rate, it's gonna be a long time. If not, that old Mizuki we know is never gonna happen again. Just won't come back. I'm hoping Q Squad is already on the approach and come to rescue him at the very least. I just hope, because I don't like this Torso bastard, and I really hope he dies in the most brutal way you could possibly ask for. I'm really just hoping right now. That said, with all that said, and as I don't want to say interest. Well, I guess you could say it's as gruesome and developmental moment that we have seen from Mizuki's side. It still begs the question why we get to see this now. I do think this is going to line up with everything that's going to happen in one moment. And the next chapter is the chapter before the break, so anything is possible in the next one. But I feel like it's going to line up with a lot of things, and I feel like it's trying to line up in order to make one big epic event to make the entire arc go into one big climax in both settings. But I'm only guessing that, or maybe it's just another way to try to kill time. But it's still, the fact that we get more more progress with Masuki, and then more progress with the Q Squad, and more progress just in general with the raid. I feel like it's always going to be one big climax that's going to approach very soon. I still feel like this arc is the last one for Reed, but maybe there'll be one more, but I'm not even sure for Kaneki's sake. Which we go back to Kaneki part, and he's still fighting Arima, and even he feels like he could try to connect them, as in like trying to speak to him, he couldn't hit him at all. But he did in fact have Arima talk to him, but not without slicing his legs, and that really scared me. At first I thought Kaneki is the one that cut his leg. I was like, holy shit, he did it, but unfortunately that's not the case. And seeing that cringed me. I was like, shit, this is not good. Now that only gives you two things. One and foremost, he has to go Kaguya. There's no other way. He has to go Kaguya, because if he can't go Kaguya, if he's not going to go Kaguya, he will lose. He cut his leg. That's already prominent to ask for Kaguya to go all out with Kaguya. He has to do it. He has to go Centipede, or unless it's something new now, but he has to go Centipede mode right now, because that's the only way he's got to win against Arima, if he has any chance. I mean, this guy has blind spot, but even he knows his blind spot as well, so therefore the blind spot is worthless. It's useless in this case, unless you're super fast as hell, but you're not. So maybe Kaguya will help that, but it is very suicidal in many ways, but it's the only way. But the second part I would like to bring up, more importantly, is that Arima actually says something. And I'm not trying to make it as a comedy guy. I'm actually making a serious thing, because you gotta remember, Arima is supposed to be cold, bloodlust, and downright terrifying to every ghouls in the world, because he is untouchable, unbeatable. Even Ito has hard time with him. Everybody has a hard time with him. But he actually said something, and the word is stop playing around. Why would he encourage his enemy, who is now enemy Kaneki? Think about that. Why would he encourage him to stop why would you say stop playing around? Why not just say it's over or anything else in the dialogue, but instead says stop playing around? Is he trying to tell him, go to Kaguya, because you could do that. You could go all out on me. Why you're not doing that? Why is he even giving a tip? It's telling me. It's very telling, in my opinion. And that's something that's very interesting, because I feel like this is one way to connect Arima, to communicate with him, and it's through battle, which I have said earlier. I feel like maybe we're going to see more insight what Arima thinks of Kaneki, and I hope so, because he's still a mystery guy. He's still a mystery character, even to this day. If he dies right now, he'd still be a mystery. But yeah, it's just something to behold. Next chapter should be very interesting, especially it'll be the last one before a break. And I know Ishida likes to do it with a huge bang. So great chapter overall. Does feel like a build up, but again, it's a lot of crazy thing that's going on, a lot of emotional, psychological events. It is something else, but it is what it is. It is a story that Ishida is telling. I hope you didn't get too depressing seeing Masuki moment, because that was pretty disturbing. It makes you boil up a lot, anger of people who has been ruining lives and shit and stuff like that. Oh boy. But yeah, next chapter is definitely going to be a very interesting one. I believe Kaguya is going to happen. I believe the fight may still go on. I think so. I don't know. I feel like there's something major is going to happen next chapter. I just feel it. I kind of want to be wrong now, because we still have Toka and others trying to escape from the place. We have Kaneki still going against Arima, and we have Masuki, and perhaps Q squads are already on the way to save him, but anything could happen, and anything can happen in a very, very disturbing way, very depressing way. So maybe we should just end it with a normal chapter. I gotta start thinking about that now. And that will do it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Remember, next week there is a podcast episode. But the following week, there won't be any because, well, I need a break. But the manga is really taking a break itself. But I also need a break on my own because I'm actually pretty exhausted. I'm a little bit behind schedule for a lot of things, and not just the podcast, just in general. So I truly benefit from this, and I do believe there's a spring break for a lot of kids. So at least the train ride will be much quiet for me and more roomy. More importantly, more roomy. Yeah. But alright, next week there will be an episode, and yeah, that's it. I'll see you next time for more Sparda's World. Take care. Want more of Sparda's World? Subscribe here today. Every week of Tuesday, a new episode releases, bringing you the latest anime manga news and reviews of the latest chapter from various series. Plus, there are extras at any time of schedule that discuss other topics, including first impression, final thoughts, and many more. Subscribe today, and I'll see you next for more Sparda's World.